All right, let's get right into it. Back in March of 2025, a group of researchers dropped a bombshell announcement, a discovery that, if it's real, could literally rewrite ancient history. They're claiming to have found a massive, hidden complex deep under the Giza Plateau. But this wild claim has kicked off a huge scientific debate, one that pits a brand new, some would say radical technology, against the entire established world of archaeology. And this is the quote that started it all, from one of the lead researchers, Professor Corrado Malanga. He didn't say they found a room or a tunnel. No, he said a true underground city. I mean, a line like that immediately grabs your imagination, but for the scientific community, that set off a whole lot of alarm bells. And that's really the heart of the whole issue, isn't it? Have these scientists actually pioneered a new way to see beneath the earth, uncovering secrets that have been hidden for thousands of years? Or is this just a massive case of misinterpreting data, of seeing incredible patterns that just aren't really there? Let's break down exactly what they claimed and why it's causing such an uproar. Okay, so first things first, what exactly did this team say they found? So you've got this team of Italian researchers, Corrado Malanga, Filippo Biondi, and Armando May. Now, they didn't go through the usual channels, like publishing in a peer-reviewed journal. Nope. They called a press conference and just unveiled it all to the public. And their presentation was, to put it lightly, pretty shocking. And this is where it gets wild. Look at the scale of what they're describing. They're talking about 5 chambers right near the base of the Khafre pyramid, each one looking like the famous King's Chamber. Okay, interesting. But then, below those, they claim there are 8 gigantic vertical shafts plunging deep into the rock. And at the bottom of these shafts, 2 enormous, cube-shaped cavities, each one 80 meters on a side. As if that's not enough, they say there's a huge tunnel network connecting all 3 Giza pyramids. It's just incredible. Let's just pause on that number for a second. 648 meters. That's over 2,000 feet deep. The Empire State Building is only 443 meters tall. So they're claiming to have found man-made shafts that are 1.5 times the height of that skyscraper, drilled deep into the bedrock. So the obvious question is, how on earth could they possibly see something like that? Well, the answer, according to them, is all thanks to a pretty novel way of using satellite tech. The technology is called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. It's a mouthful, I know. But the way they say they're using it is what makes this whole thing both potentially revolutionary and deeply controversial. Okay, so here's the key. The team says they aren't using radar to blast through miles of rock. Their critics are right. That would be impossible. What they claim is that their satellites are so sensitive, they can detect these tiny microscopic vibrations on the pyramid's surface, vibrations that are caused by the natural hum of the Earth itself. Then, and this is the secret sauce, their proprietary software analyzes these micro vibrations. It basically treats them like sound waves to figure out what's underneath. The idea is that a solid chunk of rock would vibrate one way, but a massive empty room underneath would make it vibrate differently. That's the technological jump they're claiming to have made. But as you can probably imagine, this whole announcement was met with a tidal wave of skepticism from mainstream archaeologists and scientists. So you've basically got these two camps, right? And they couldn't be further apart. On one side, you have the research team saying they've made a massive technological breakthrough. And on the other, you have a huge chorus of experts saying, hold on, that technology isn't proven for this, and that their interpretation just flies in the face of basic geology, engineering, and everything we know about ancient Egypt. And this quote pretty much sums up the official reaction. It's from Dr. Zahi Hawass, probably the most famous Egyptologist on the planet. And he didn't mince words. He didn't just question it, he flat out called it fake news. He said the team never had permission to work there and that their whole method was bogus. This is the official and academic brick wall they ran into. And the pushback isn't just a gut reaction. It's based on some really sharp, difficult questions. Like, if your tech is so great, why can't we see chambers we know are there, like the Bolzoni chamber? And how did all the other high-tech scans that have been done over the years, like muon scans, completely miss something this big? You know, the Giza Plateau was full of natural caves and cracks. Could their software just be misreading those? Then you have the two huge logical problems. To build this, you'd have to excavate millions of tons of rock. Where did it go? And a big chunk of this so-called city would be way below the water table. Why would anyone in their right mind build it there? These are huge questions the team still hasn't really answered. So to really understand why everyone is so skeptical, It's super helpful to see how these discoveries are supposed to happen. And the best example is the Scan Pyramids project. Just look at the timeline for the world-renowned Scan Pyramids team. In 2017, they used a totally different method, muon tomography, to find what they called the Big Void. But did they run to the press and announce a secret throne room? No. They spent years studying it. It wasn't until 2023 that they confirmed a different, smaller corridor, and they did it by drilling a tiny hole and sticking a camera through. And only now, almost a decade after the initial find, are they planning a mission to finally check out the Big Void. And that's the real takeaway here. Mainstream science, especially at a place as important as Giza, is slow. It's careful. It's collaborative. You cross-check your findings with different technologies. You collect data for years. And nothing, absolutely nothing, is considered proven until you have physical confirmation. It's a system built on verification, which is the complete opposite of a sudden press conference announcing a hidden city. So where does all this leave us with this unbelievable story? You've probably heard this quote from Carl Sagan before, but it has never, ever been more fitting. Claiming there's a secret city under the pyramids, that is about as extraordinary as it gets in archaeology. So the big question is, does the evidence they've shown even come close to clearing that very high bar? Well, right now, the answer from the broader scientific community is a resounding no. Their work has never been peer-reviewed. That all-important software they used is basically a black box. No one's been able to test it independently for this kind of work. Not a single other scientific method has backed up their claims, and, crucially, the Egyptian authorities haven't given them permission to do any on-the-ground research. So, as amazing as the idea is, it's still firmly in the category of a very sensational but very unproven claim. And that leaves us with one final really fascinating question to think about. Are we watching the messy, controversial birth of a whole new paradigm in archaeology? Or is this just a modern, cautionary tale about how easy it is to get carried away by data and a good story? Right now, it's impossible to say for sure, and we're all left wondering about that very fine line between a world-changing discovery and a magnificent high-tech mirage.